up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Wow, I have not sat down to film in like a week, and I have to tell you that I feel weird and not good about it. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. But the upside to my little week-long absence is actually that I get to play with one of the palettes that I have been anticipating the absolute most this year, and that is the Naked Reloaded palette from Urban Decay. Now, if you're a youngin' and you don't remember, there was a time in the world, brace yourself because this might be a shock to you, seriously, where eyeshadow palettes weren't really a thing, okay? People bought singles, and pretty much only singles. There may have been a few palettes floating around, but they weren't like a mainstream thing that came out all the time. Things came out as singles. That is until Urban Decay came out with the original Naked palette, which for me was like a big moment. I bought that palette and I will literally never forget the day that I first used it. I put that shit on my eyes, and I remember I went with my mom to go visit a family friend who lived in the Bronx, and we were driving around in my mom's car, and I was like looking in the car mirror, just like feeling myself the whole day. And my mom was like, "Your eyeshadow looks really good," and I was like, "The Urban Decay Naked palette," and it was like a whole thing. It was like a complete makeup game changer. Last year, I think, yeah, it was 2018 at some point, they discontinued the original Naked palette, which made part of me die a little bit inside. But I had a funny feeling that they were gonna replace it with like its 2019 counterpart because I think it was time, you know? So naturally, when they announced Naked Reloaded, I shit my pants. And I know a lot of people aren't super excited for new neutrals palettes these days, but personally, A, for me, this holds a lot of sentimental value, and B, I think that they did a really good job of updating the shades for a Naked palette to be very, I guess I could say, like, they really are what we need for our neutral looks in 2019. You can really get a solid look out of this on its own, or you could pair it with some other pops of color and get some fire-ass looks out of that. And honestly, I don't know anything about the behind the scenes of the Urban Decay eyeshadow formulations, but in my opinion, the Urban Decay shadows have come a really long way since the first Naked palette. And so I was very, very happy to see that reflected in a new version of the Naked palette. Another update on this is the packaging. This is a really interesting packaging, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. It's fabric and it's plush. Like, this is like a pillow, kind of. It's also smaller than the original Naked palette, so it's a little bit more sleek and thin. To me, the packaging is a huge upgrade from the original. I love how flat and simple the inside is too, because it's very easy to keep clean. We've got a nice mirror. And another interesting thing is there are actually 3 pan sizes in this, basically based off what they think you'll use the most. So the ones that they think you'll use most often are the largest of the 3, which is a pretty neat concept. I feel like if that does work out, that's really cool of a brand to do, because I feel like a lot of times, a lot of brands try to make you go through things faster instead of actually helping you get the most out of them. So if that's the case, then that's nice. I also like the fact that there's a matte in here that's not quite a neutral. I'm wearing a lot of that right now. So I went into this 3 looks video thinking that I wanted to keep it fairly simple to give you guys an idea of how you can get looks with this palette that you could wear totally on a day-to-day basis. The first look is a little bit more complex as far as like you need to kind of have a steady hand with it, but with all of them, if you wanted to take out the pops of color that I use, you can totally replace them with a neutral and get a really nice look that's still within the neutral theme of this palette. But you know me, I'm just, well, I mean, maybe you don't know me, maybe you're new here, but I am very prone to using a lot of color. So I added a few pops in there. In this look, I did it with the lipstick and with the less neutral shades in the palette. I did it with some liners in the other looks, but I did keep them very, very simple to recreate, so that way I'm giving you more practical stuff that you can do with this palette. And I did that because I feel like this is a practical palette. This is something that you're probably going to be using on a more daily basis rather than when you're necessarily experimenting with makeup. However, if you want to see me do another 3 looks video where I do more funky creative stuff with this, I think we can definitely accomplish that. So if you'd like to see that, leave me a comment down below and I'll try to get that done within like the next week or 2. Also, I will, as usual, timestamp everything down below. So if you are more interested in one of the looks than the others, or if you want to skip to the review, then that will all be timestamped down below there. As always, all of the other products that I use in the video will be listed in the description too. And any questions that you have that I don't answer in the description or the, the info box, whatever you want to call it, leave me a comment and I will try my best to get back to you. Oh, and before we get into the looks, I just wanted to mention that I did all 3 of these looks without using false eyelashes. Not so much because I wanted to do that, but because I have eyelash extensions right now, which A, makes it not as necessary, and B, I'm trying not to destroy them by putting lashes over them and then like pulling off the glue. But I think it actually kind of works out to be a good thing, because with a very like neutral day-to-day palette like this, that might be something that you want to do, is not wear them with strip lashes necessarily. And although lash extensions are definitely more robust than my real lashes, they're not as transformative as strip lashes are. So it might be nice for you guys to see what these looks look like without strip lashes anyway. Next time we do looks with this palette, we'll use strip lashes then, and we'll just balance it right back out and it will be fine. Before we get into it, please don't forget to leave a like on this video because I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if you are new here, and by new, I mean maybe you've been, creeping for a little while and you just haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button because I would love to have you around for more videos. Also, I did get a haircut while I was away and it is a little bit shorter, and the bangs are still fake though, because I had to wear bangs to cover up the crusty peeling sunburn that's on my forehead. So that's that. We'll see that progress as the video goes on. I think that's really all you need to know before we get started. So let me just jump in to the first look and shut my big fat mouth and start using the new Urban Decay Naked Reloaded. So FYI, before we start look number 1, I got home from Florida like literally 12 hours ago and my forehead and my nose are like extra crispy right now. But that is not going to stop us from making a beautiful look with this new Urban Decay palette. So let's start look number 1. To start the look, I want to do a warm transition in the crease. So I'm going to go into the shade Retro on a MAC 217 brush. Just upon first dip, that is giving me a ton of pigment on the brush and a tiny bit of kickback in the pan. Like I always say, kickback does not bother me at all. I've actually come to expect it from palettes nowadays because that's just what happens when you get a softer pressed palette with a lot of pigment in it. But I always mention it because I know a lot of people are interested in whether or not you get any. It's gonna start by packing that shade into my crease. Okay, so far, impressed. That's beautiful. All right, next I'm gonna take a little bit of the shade Bucked. I'm gonna take that on a pencil brush and I'm gonna pat that on the outer corner. I'm also going to bring it a little bit through the crease area and on the inner corner as well. I'm gonna deepen up that outer and inner corner a little bit further by going into the shade Endgame. I'm taking that first on the same pencil brush and just patting it into the corner spots. Then I'm gonna take my Sigma E36 brush, which is a little bit stained from my last James Charles palette video, but that's okay. I'm just going to bring that same shade through the crease on that smaller brush and just start creating a contour for our crease with that. Now that I have those mattes down as a base, I want to do a little bit of a pop of shimmer in the center. Since we use some of the warmer tones, I think it would be interesting to do a little bit of a coolness with the shimmer, and then we'll put like a contrasting eyeliner and kind of play with tones, with the tony tones. So I'm gonna go into the shade Dreamweaver, which is this cool tone shimmer. Trying it first dry to see what type of finish we get, but I'll probably add some setting spray. It's a pretty shade, but I definitely do want to wet it, so let's wet it. And now that that shade is down, I want to brighten it in the center. So I'm gonna go into this bright shade here, Angel Fire, on a Lexi 141 mini round brush, and I am going to wet that with some Fix Plus. Okay, so for the eyeliner today, I want to do something really bright and interesting. I kind of want to do like just the outline of the liner without filling it in, which is usually really difficult because you can't really fix the inner line. So I'm gonna be using a nail art brush to make sure that I get a really skinny line. If I screw it up, I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the center. I think either way, we're gonna get a really interesting look, but you know, just I feel like I can't make a guarantee right now. So I'm using the Super Beauty Hydra Liner in the color Scrunchy. Okay, I wound up doing most of that off camera because I needed to be this close to the mirror in order to get it even close to a solid line. But I'm pretty happy with the effect. It's like something fun, but like not so over the top, and I think it fits the theme. So now we're gonna move on to the lower lash line. And I'm going back into the shade Retro. I'm just gonna start smoking out the lower lash line with that warm tone like we did on the top and bring it out kind of in a V shape to meet the outer corner, so that way the whole shadow look kind of gets like a shape that mimics the little empty wing that we did there. Next, I'm gonna pick up this flat brush and we're gonna go into the shade Endgame again. I'm gonna push that along the lower lash line. Again, have that kind of meet that shape on the outside edge, and we're gonna blend it out. But I wanna make sure I have that shape there first. And when you blend out that darker shape under that liner, it almost gives like a subtle effect that that liner has a drop shadow, which is very cool and slick and neat. I want to brighten up the waterline for this look with a nude pencil, but because this is the Naked Reloaded palette, I'm going to use an OG Urban Decay eye pencil that I have been literally loving for 10 years. This is a 24/7 pencil in Midnight Cowboy. I honestly don't even know if they make this anymore. But it's a really nice champagne shade, and I distinctly recall using this with the original Naked palette. For the lower portion of the inner corner, like right here, not here, but here, I want to brighten that up with the same shade that we used in the center of the lid. So I'm going to go into Angel Fire, picking this up on a pencil brush, and I'm gonna wet that with a little bit of Fix Plus. Ooh, that shade is really reflective and nice when you use it on its own. I'm just gonna blend that into the surrounding colors using that same BH number 7 that still has a little bit of the original shade on it, just to soften that out. So I just added some mascara to this look. I am actually not gonna wear false lashes today. I know that's super rare for me, but I have eyelash extensions right now and they're still pretty fresh. So I just threw on a coat on the top and bottom of the Lancome Monsieur Big Mascara. This is really volumizing, so I love it. And I don't need waterproof right now because I can't wear waterproof on my extensions. And obviously I don't need it to hold a curl, and I am loving this, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But you could totally pair this with a pair of falsies. Maybe some iconic lights would be lovely with this. In just a moment, I'm gonna go finish up my skin, but before I do that, I want to add a few freckles, and I'm gonna do that using the Urban Decay Brow Blade. This is the shade Brunette Betty, and I've been using this for my freckles lately, and it's my new favorite for that. Okay, finished up my skin with some blush. I used Nectarine from the Anastasia Peachy Love Blush Trio and the NABLA Cosmetics highlighter in the shade Crown. Now I just want to add a lip to this look, and I am going to keep it pretty simple today. So I'm going to use the Lolita 2 lip pencil from Kat Von D to line. Then I'm going to use this new matte lipstick from the MAC Art Library collection. This is called Down to an Art, and it's a very me shade, so I figured I would use it today. And this is the first look. Okay, time to start look number 2. I'm gonna start by going into this shade Blur, which is a little bit like almost skin tone shaded for me. You could choose whatever color would be around skin tone shade for you. And I'm just, after I tap out my inevitable creases in my base, I'm going to put it through my crease area not so much to even create definition, but I just want to make it easier to blend things out in this area right now because I'm going to try to really deepen the crease on this look, kind of do like a 1960s sort of a shape. So I want to make sure that it's as easy as it can be to blend things. Next, I'm going to go into the shade Boundaries on a BH number 7, and I'm going to put that more concentrated in the crease area. I'm going to go into the shade Reputation, and I'm putting that on a Real Technique shading brush, and I'm going to wet that with a little bit of Fix Plus, and I'm going to put it across the whole lid. Ooh, I love that shade. Wow, that's so metallic and nice. I'm just bringing that color right up to the crease because I'm going to go ahead and deepen the crease further with another shade. I just wanted to get this shade down first so we can use that darker shade to kind of blend everything together. So I'm picking up a MAC 221S brush, and I'm going into the shade Endgame. I'm packing only a little bit of that color onto the end of this brush because it is super pigmented, and I'm just going to start using that to define the crease and deepen it up. I'm getting a little bit of fallout with that shade, nothing crazy, but I did notice a little bit of fallout in the last look. So even though I already concealed under my eyes, I put a lot of powder there, so it won't be an issue. And toward the end, I'm just kind of flicking that out a little bit so that it doesn't have like a harsh ending to where that deeper line is. I'm going to take a Sigma E36. This is just a smaller version of that same type of a brush, and I'm going to go back into Endgame and just use that to smooth out where that color is most concentrated so I don't spread it out too far. Okay, I want to start working on the lower lash line. I'm going to skip over the first shade Blur because I don't think it's necessary on the lower lash line because we're blending in a smaller area. So I'm going to go right into Boundaries. On a BH number 7 brush, I'm going to start running that along the lower lashes and then bringing it out in a almost wing shape, but a little straighter. Next, I'm going to go into Endgame again, this time on a flat brush from Alamar Cosmetics. Any flat brush will do. I just happen to like this one a lot because it's really thin. I'm also just going to extend it just a little bit past my lower lashes. And I'm not bringing that one all the way across the lower lashes. I'm just kind of bringing it in to the inside of my pupil and sort of tapering it down as I go. I'm not going to make it as thick on the inside. I'm going to pick up that same BH number 7 that I used for the first color and just use that to blend out the bottom of that. I'm going to grab a small brush and also the Kat Von D brow pomade in the color Daffodil. Now these brow pomades are apparently completely eye safe, and also you can use them in your waterline. I think, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they are waterline safe. I'm picking that up on a small detailing brush and I'm just going to put that through my waterline. If you have a bright yellow eye pencil, you could totally use that too. The only one that I'm aware of is from ColourPop, and I don't think they make it anymore, but I did really, really love that one for a long time. This works really well in the waterline though, and it wears for ages. Kind of cool to look and see when you do one side and not the other, yet how much that changes the eye shape. Like, look at how much rounder and bigger this eye looks than this eye from the work we did on the bottom. That's so cool. To brighten up the inner corner, I'm gonna go back into the shade Angel Fire that I used in the first look, picking that up on a Makeup Geek pencil brush, and I'm going to wet it with a little bit of Fix Plus. Okay, I was just doing my mascara and I really like the way this look is coming out, but I do feel like I want to define the lash line on the top just a little bit more. So I'm gonna pick up that flat brush again. Now it would be a lot easier to do this before mascara, so highly recommend doing it that way. And I'm just gonna press that into the lash line on the outer half on the top. Okay, I added some highlight and blush, and I didn't do freckles this time, but I did fill in my moles with that same brow pen. I love filling in my moles because I feel like it makes your makeup look so much fresher and more realistic. And I feel like this look could really benefit from a cute little detail. So I'm gonna grab the Milk Tattoo stamp in the star shape. I'm gonna place one right under my right eye. Now that that's done, all I need to do is add a lip, and I want like an ombre sort of effect that also goes along with like the color scheme in this look. The Kat Von D lip pencil in Vampira, and I'm gonna brush that in toward the center a little bit just to blend it. And then I'm gonna fill the center and create an ombre with the liquid lipstick in Double Dare. And this is the second look. Okay, look number 3. First of all, I broke out the clip-in bangs for this look. Normally when I do this, it's because I just want a little bit of variety, get a little bit bored with my look, and I like to switch it up without any commitment. But today, it's because the red forehead that I spoke of in the first look, it's a couple days later now because it takes me some time to film these videos, it has started to peel from the sunburn and it's really disgusting. And you, trust me, don't want to see that. What an elegant solution. Either way, we just need to clip that back and jump right back into this palette, man. So for the third look, I want to keep it kind of simple and maybe almost monochromatic, but I do want to showcase the shade Retro for the most part because to me, that's the color that makes this like a little bit more interesting than your typical neutrals palette. So I'm going to start by dipping into that shade on a MAC 217 brush and I'm going to put it through my crease, but I'm also going to bring it down over most of my lid as well. Next, I'm going to deepen the corners just a little bit. So I'm going to go into the shade Boundaries to keep it more in that warm tone family. I'm just going to tap that right in the outer portions, like very, very little with a pencil brush. It's not even really going to show that much, but it'll just give a little bit more shape. For this portion of the lid where it's still empty, I'm going to go into the shade Burn, picking that up on a flat MAC 220 brush, and I'm going to wet it with a little bit of Fix Plus. Okay, that's definitely in the same color family and it's also a really pretty shade, but it's a little bit darker, but that's okay because we can brighten it up. I'm gonna go into Angel Fire again on the same brush that I just used. I just wiped it off. I'm wetting that with a little bit of Fix Plus again. I'm just gonna pop that right in the center of the lid. Now that we have those colors down on the top, I'm basically going to repeat the exact same steps for the bottom. I'm gonna pick up that same MAC 217 brush and go back into the shade Retro. And I'm gonna start blending out the inner and outer portions of my eye with that color on the lower lash line. And you may notice here that I'm using a pretty big brush for this, like considering that it's the lower lash line. The reason I'm doing that is because I really do want this to be blown out pretty far. We're using mostly soft colors here. There's nothing really super harsh. So I like to take advantage of that by going big in other ways. This color in particular really blends easily, I've noticed. I'm gonna pick up that same MAC 221 brush, going back into the shade Burn, and I'm gonna put that in the center again. And to blend that, I'm gonna pick up the same MAC 217 brush that we used to put down the shade Retro and just blend the edge of that. That way we're continuing the line of where that shade ends around it and also blending the shimmer at the same time. And again, back into Angel Fire on that same small brush. I'm gonna wet it and use it to highlight the very center. And I'm bringing that down just a little tiny bit, almost in like a harlequin shape, because we are using really, really soft shades here, like I said before. So like, I don't know, why not? Why not take it a little bit further with the subtle things? For the waterline, I'm going to use the Benefit Roller Eye Bright. I feel like the matte kind of pinky nude tone of this will play nicely with the tones we use on the eyes. Okay, normally I do my blush off camera because it's just not interesting, but since I have like this salmon-y shade, it's peachy tone going on here, and I'm gonna be using this peachy blush. I wanted to do it on camera. This is the Anastasia Peachy Love Blush Trio. I usually use a mix of all 3 shades, but today I'm just gonna use the 2 less orange ones, Nectarine and Ginger. I'm gonna pick them up on a Real Techniques blush brush, and I'm going to basically blend the edge of that blush right in to the edge of where we blended the pink shade on that eye. And in the area where the blush actually meets the eyeshadow, I'm gonna take a large eyeshadow brush. This is from Alamar Cosmetics, and I'm just gonna use that to make sure that we blend it evenly. It's kind of a subtle thing to do, but I just think it makes it so much more of an interesting look, and it gives me like real 80s vibes. So that's how I do that, and I'm gonna go finish the rest of the skin and then we'll move on to the lip. Okay, I finished off the skin with that same NABLA highlight that I used earlier. I also used Brunette Betty for freckles again. And now that I did all that, I kind of feel like this maybe would look really good with a tiny bit of glitter. So I'm going to take the Urban Decay Heavy Metal Glitter in the color Catcall. I'm just going to take the tiniest bit of that and just place it in the center of the lid. Just a touch. I just feel like that'll really finish off this look. Oh, by the way, for the lashes, I also just used the MONSIEUR Big Lancome Mascara again. So for the lips, I want to go real bright and real glossy. Totally pair this with a more subtle lip, or even just like, I don't know, something like Lolita 2, something along those lines, and have it be really monochromatic and very, very pretty and soft. But I feel like I want to punch up the lips a little bit. So I'm going to use the Fenty Stunna Lip Paint in the color Unlocked. If you didn't see my review of these, I will link it right up here on the screen. I'm going to top it with the Fenty Gloss Bomb in the color Fussy. I also reviewed this, and I will also link this. And this is the third look. Okay, so that is it for the 3 looks. And as far as my thoughts on this palette are concerned, this might be my favorite naked palette that has come out in the last few years. Besides this, my favorite was the Naked Heat palette. I really love that palette, but this is a little bit more well balanced if you are going to just be using it for an everyday type of a thing. It does have some tones that are warmer, it does have some tones that are cooler, but overall there's like a little bit of both, you know? There's also a little bit of shimmer and a little bit of matte. I do like that there's a bone white shade and a really dark brown, which helps you complete a lot of looks. There isn't a black shade, which is something that I usually like to have in a palette, but I do make an exception when there is a brown that's dark enough to take the place of that, and I think Endgame does that for us here, so it's not an issue. It is a softer formula than the original Naked palette for sure, but Urban Decay's shadows have kind of trended in that direction since the original Naked palette, so that's no surprise. I would say the formula is pretty much identical to every other Naked palette that has come out in the last couple of years. Naked Heat, Naked Cherry, all of that. The packaging is phenomenal. I absolutely love this packaging. It will remain to be seen how the packaging holds up, because usually anything with fabric tends to get dirty a little bit quickly, but because this is like a silky kind of smooth fabric, I'm thinking it might not be too difficult to clean. So we will see how that goes as time goes on, but I'm hopeful for it, and I really like the soft packaging, and I like that it's nice and thin and sleek. My favorite shades in here, I think, are Retro, the one that I'm wearing a whole lot of right now, and I think my favorite shimmer is probably Burn, partially because it reminds me of the Usher song, but also because I feel like it's a really pretty nuanced shade, and I like the way it looked when I put it on the lid wet on a brush. Overall, those are my thoughts on this palette. Please let me know if you want to see more like funky out there looks with this, because I can make it happen. I will find a way to make neutrals weird. Also, leave me a comment down below. Do you like neutrals palettes? Are you all full up on neutrals palettes? Are you as excited as I am to have a replacement for the original Naked palette? Because I don't know, this one really just holds a little bit of special sentimental value to me. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, because it helps me, and helping people is nice, and who doesn't want to be a nice person today? Also, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, because I would love to have you around for more videos. There are a million more videos coming down the line. I know I always say that, but it's always true. I just never stop making videos for the most part. If you would, for some reason, like to keep up with me between videos, I'm at Miss Quinface on all other social media, mostly Instagram. I update my Instagram stories a lot. We do a lot of polls and stuff over there. I also have YouTube stories now, which is new to me, but if you have anything that you would like to see on my YouTube stories, please let me know what that is, because I, quite frankly, don't really have any creative ideas about how I want to use that feature. That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you always, and I will see you in the next one.